My name is Claire Bannerman and I'm the roving chef for Scotland for Vegetarian for Life. So at Vegetarian for Life, we support older vegetarians and vegans, but during lockdown, we've enjoyed doing these virtual demonstrations to the wider community. So thank you so much for joining me today. So these sessions are being brought to you as part of the Grow Together project. So today has got a Chinese Asian theme. We're going to do a sweet and sour, and then I'm combining that with a traditional Scottish recipe. So I'm going to be doing clouty dumplings. So you maybe remember doing clouty dumpling years ago, and you would have to steam it for hours. It's quite traditional to have clouty dumpling at New Year. Something my gran used to make pretty often. So this is actually my brother-in-law's recipe, and it only takes 5 minutes to steam in the microwave. So we're starting off with our sweet and sour. So the first ingredient that I've got is a red onion. So during lockdown, I've been cooking loads with my nieces because unfortunately both my sister and my brother-in-law had COVID, so I was on babysitting duties. And they love cooking, but they keep saying to me, Auntie Claire, we hate all these chopping onions, making us cry. And that's because they chop off the root, or as my niece calls it, the wee hairy bit. So the wee hairy bit is where the chemical that makes you cry lives, so I'm going to leave that on. So I'm going to take half an onion, take off the top, then leave it on that root. I'm going to go straight through the middle, and then I'm going to nick the skin, and then that way that skin will just peel off nicely. So with that half, I'm going to cut that in half again lengthways. I'm going to tuck back my knuckles, and that means if my knife slides, I'm not going to cut myself. So my mum loves cooking, but she's got arthritis and she finds it really difficult to peel and chop things. So she uses frozen onions for this, so that would be absolutely fine. So traditionally, your most Asian dishes like sweet and sour are cooked in a wok, but I'm going to cook mine in a frying pan today just so that you guys can see what's happening in the pan. So I'm going to add a splash of vegetable oil. It's just supermarket own brand vegetable oil, nothing fancy here. If you didn't have vegetable oil, you could use rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, whatever you have. And go ahead and add that sliced half onion. Get that warming off. And the next ingredient is a red pepper. So this is something that my nieces actually taught me, that you get male and female peppers. So if a pepper has 4 bumps, it's female, and that means it's going to be sweeter. So if you get a sweeter pepper, it's really good for quick dishes like stir fries, and if you were going to eat it raw. So if you got a pepper that had 1 bump or perhaps even 3, that would be male. So that would be sharper. So that's good for things that you're going to cook for a long time, like stews and casseroles and curries. So what a lot of people do when they chop their pepper is they chop off the top and then they just throw that away. I'm going to pop my pepper. I just lean on my pepper. And then I can just pull it apart, and that way all the seeds will come out in one go. And we'll go ahead and slice down some red pepper. So again, you could use mixed frozen peppers for this. If you are using frozen peppers, I would probably add them in towards the end because they can be a little bit soft, the frozen varieties. And we'll go ahead and add this. We'll get that softening off. So I'm going to make my own sauce for this sweet and sour. So I'm starting off with, I've got some brown sugar and some white sugar. So I've got 40 grams of each. And to that, I'm going to add 50 ml of water, so just standard tap water. And then a good squirt of tomato ketchup. So this is just supermarket own brand tomato ketchup that I'm using. So a good tablespoon or so of tomato ketchup. I'm just going to turn my heat down on the pan. So next I've got some soy sauce. So I'm just using supermarket own brand. You get dark soy sauce and light soy sauce. So the dark soy sauce has got a good flavour for stir fries, and it tends to have a little bit less salt. So if you are watching your salt intake, and perhaps you've got high blood pressure, for instance, go for a reduced salt variety. You'll get them in most supermarkets. So we're going for a teaspoon of the soy sauce. Just give those onions and peppers a stir. They're sizzling away nicely now. And then my next ingredient is white rice vinegar. You use loads in Chinese cooking. So you'll find your white rice vinegar in most supermarkets and it'll be beside your world ingredients. But if you couldn't get white rice vinegar, you could just use white vinegar. That would be absolutely fine. So the recipe calls for 30 ml, so that's about 2 tablespoons. And we'll stir that together. So this is going to form our sauce, so we'll just set that to the side and we'll come back to that. So the next ingredient that I'm using today is corn. So corn is a common ingredient used by vegetarians, and the variety I'm using today is a corn chunk, so that's an alternative to chicken. So of course if you prefer chicken you could use that, or if you were vegan you could use firm tofu. So if you are using tofu, make sure you use the firm variety. The soft variety that's often called silken tofu is more suitable for soups and sauces and things like that. So we'll go ahead and add our corn. So if you're not familiar with corn, what corn actually is a mycoprotein. And what that means is it's made from something that's really similar to mushrooms, and they ferment it and then they take off the byproduct from the fermentation to make the corn chunks. So this is found in your freezer cabinet. But if you are vegan, just check that you are buying the vegan version, because the standard vegetarian version is actually dipped in egg. So my next ingredient, this is just optional. I had some leftover mushrooms. So mushrooms are a great source of vitamin D. So vitamin D normally comes from the sunshine in the summertime. So I know it's a nice sunny day today, but it's really in the summertime that you get your vitamin D from the sun. So vitamin D is important for your bone health, but also your overall well-being and your immune system to keep away coughs and colds. So current research has shown that a diet that's rich in vitamin D is going to reduce your risk of COVID. So that's something worth knowing. So I like to use chestnut mushrooms because I think they've got a bit more flavour than your white mushrooms. So go ahead and chop that down. So I'm just going to take the stalks out just for demo purposes. It just makes it a bit easier for me to chop. And you can have this as rough or as finely sliced as you like. The only thing I would say with mushrooms is don't wash your mushrooms. It makes them just go soggy. They're like little sponges. They just absorb all the water. If you do find that you've got grow medium on them or they look a little bit grubby, just give them a wipe with a bit of clean kitchen roll. Go ahead and add that. So the next ingredient that I'm going to use is courgette. So courgette is something that loads of people grow and they tend to get a bumper crop of. Loads of things you can do with courgettes. You can even bake cakes with them. So when you are using any vegetables, make sure that you give them a good wash before you use them. So I'm just going to roughly chop this. Completely up to yourself again, how chunky or fine you like it. Okay, I'm just going to roughly chop this down. Add that to the pan. So the corn's starting to get nice and crispy on the edges now, getting a nice bit of colour on it. So to speed things up here, I actually defrosted my corn in the fridge before I've used it. But you can actually use corn straight from the freezer, but just make sure you cook it all the way through. And then finally a tomato. So of course loads of people grow tomatoes. Great to start them on your windowsill at this time of year, or if you've got a greenhouse or a polytunnel, absolutely perfect. Then I'll go ahead and roughly chop that. So I'm just leaving the seeds in, that'll give a little bit of moisture to the dish. So stir fries are great for using up leftovers. So things like broccoli would be absolutely fantastic in this. If you have green beans or mange too, things like that work particularly well. If you like bean sprouts, you can get bean sprouts in most supermarkets as well now. They're normally beside your salad product, so you can just go ahead and add that. So I'm going to go ahead now and add my sauce, so just give that a good stir. So that was our soy sauce, our rice wine vinegar, our tomato sauce and our sugar and some water. We'll go ahead and add that. So the first two sessions that I did a curry demonstration and a chilli demonstration at already cooked rice. So if you would like to serve rice with this dish, have a wee look at those videos to show you how to make foolproof peel-out rice. But today I'm just going to use ready cooked straight to pan noodles. And the variety I'm using today is called Udon Noodles. So these are nice and thick and they really absorb all your flavours well. So you get these from most supermarkets now. You'll find these just beside things like pasta and rice. So these are called Udon Noodles. So when you open your packet, they come in individual portions and they look like thick pasta. So we'll go ahead and just add that straight to the pan. And then if you just let them warm through and then just use a fork just to let them loosen off. Just use a fork just to break them up. And we'll let that warm through. So at this stage, our sauce is quite thin. So what we're going to do is add some corn flour as a thickener. So corn flour, again, just supermarket own brand. So this is a white powder. So the key for your corn flour is you must mix it with cold water. If you mix it with hot water or try to put it straight into your pan, it will just go into a big lump. So any recipe that calls for a cornflour solution or a cornflour slurry, that is an equal part of corn flour to an equal quantity of cold water. So in my little bowl here, I've got a tablespoon of corn flour. So you can see it's just a white powder. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of water to this. And then just mix that together. So make sure that white powder's all dissolved. So give our noodles a wee struggle about there. So as your noodles warm through, they'll just start to break down if you just use the side of your fork. And then now I can go ahead and add that corn flour. So your cornflour slurry will look almost like milk. So don't worry about it looking cloudy when you first add it to your pan. That will cook out and it will form a nice thick sauce. So just combining that lovely sauce over all of our corn and our veggies. So we're just going to leave this just to simmer away, just to let the noodles warm through. So I'm just going to transfer this to the back ring. And I'm going to go on now to our clouted dumpling. Oh, sorry, so one thing that I've forgotten, just to finish off our sweet and sour, I've got some canned pineapple. So I'm going to add about 50 grams of pineapple there. And we'll just stir that through. And that gives you your sweet element with your sauce to give that lovely traditional sweet and sour flavours. So for our clay dumpling, I've pre-weighed my ingredients. So I'm starting off with about 140 grams of water. Then I've got 50 grams of white sugar. I've got 114 grams of margarine or butter. So if you were vegan, you would just use a vegan baking spread. Go ahead and add that. And then to give a nice flavour to this, I've got some sweet cinnamon. So for the cinnamon and the mixed spice, I'm just using supermarket own brand again. I'm going to add half a teaspoon. And so our mixed spice has got cloves and ginger and nutmeg, and it gives a really nice warm flavour. So we're adding a teaspoon of the mixed spice. And start to dissolve that. So it smells absolutely fantastic. I wish you guys could smell this, the aroma of the mixed spice and cinnamon and those lovely warming spices that are in the mixed spice. So we just want to let that sugar and margarine melt along with the spices. Just keep stirring that. It'll just take a wee while for that margarine just to melt through it. So my next ingredient is mixed fruit. So again, I'm just using supermarket own brand mixed fruit. So the version that I've got is a blend of raisins, sultanas, currants and mixed peel. So again, most supermarkets will sell a nice range of mixed dried fruit. But again, you could do this just all raisins if you preferred. So I've got 230 grams of my fruit. And we'll mix this together. So I've just used water in this recipe today, and what my gran used to do, she used to use tea just to give a little bit extra flavour, so of course you could do that. If you fancied adding a little boozy twist to this, you could add a little bit of whiskey or rum to this. That would be nice as well, whatever you fancy. So just letting that fruit just soften off there. And then I've got some black treacle. So most supermarkets will sell the Lyle's brand. I've yet to actually see a supermarket that does own brand. So Lyle's is the one that most people use, that they would do like the golden syrup as well. So we're looking for a tablespoon of treacle. So go ahead and add that. You see it's beautiful black luscious treacle. So then traditionally used in fruit cakes and things like treacle toffee. Give that a good mix together. So your treacle should dissolve quite fast, so I'm just going to take that off the heat at this stage. So I'm lifting that off the heat. So next, I've already cracked an egg into my little bowl here, and I find it easy to whisk an egg and balance the flavours of the sweetness. It's just to add a few little pinches of salt, and that will help you be able to whisk the egg up. So just whisking that egg together. So once you've got this off the heat, you would let this just cool just for a few minutes if you were doing this at home. And I've got 114 grams of plain flour. So I've already sent the links to the recipes for these to Barbara, so she'll be able to forward the recipes on to you. But it's 114 grams of plain flour, so make sure you use plain flour. If you use self-raising flour, it will overflow in the microwave, so make sure you use plain flour. So go ahead and add that. And then I've got some bicarbonate soda, so I've got half a teaspoon of the bicarbonate soda. And then go ahead and add that whisked egg. So stir this really fast. You don't want your egg to start to scramble in your mixture. So give that a really good mixture together. start to look slightly lighter in your pan there. So you can do this in a large microwave safe bowl. The large bowl that I haven't got isn't actually suitable for the microwave, so I do mine in 2 smaller portions. So I'm going to use a small bowl. So this is a microwave safe pudding bowl, and what I've done is I've lined it with cling film first. So make sure you're using cling film that's suitable for the microwave and a bowl that's suitable for the microwave. So we'll go ahead and add this to my bowl. So you want to 3/4 fill your bowl so that you've got enough room for it to steam in the microwave. And then just tap that down, making sure it's going to all the edges. So you want to leave the cling film open. Don't cover your pudding at this stage, and we'll pop this in the microwave for 5 minutes. So our sweet and sour sauce has thickened up nicely now. And all those lovely noodles are combined, so we can go ahead and serve that up. So I always find that when you serve noodles, it's better served in a bowl. So there is my lovely sweet and sour corn stir fry. So whilst our clouty dumpling is cooking, I'd just like to talk you through some free resources that we have available at Vegetarian for Life. So our website is vegetarianforlife.org.uk. On our website, you'll find details of our free publications. So we have lovely little recipe pamphlets. So we've got our first one is called Cooking for One. So perhaps you live yourself, or perhaps you're supporting somebody that lives themselves. Really nice recipes in there. So these are free to download on our website, or if you actually want a hard copy like this, you can request a free copy to be sent to you. We also have our vegan rescue pack, so perhaps you're interested in becoming vegan or just trying some vegan recipes, or maybe you know somebody that's vegan. So in the vegan rescue pack, there's lots of information on what a vegan will eat, but more importantly, what they won't eat. Really nice menu planners and some lovely recipes in there too, and this is also free to order. We also have a vegan baking guide. So the vegan baking guide is a new publication that's free to download a copy from our website as well. However, if you require a hard copy of that, there's a small charge of £2 for the vegan baking guide. So the vegan baking guide talks you through egg alternatives, really lovely recipes ranging from simple things to brownies, banana bread, some muffins and scones, biscuits, but more adventurous things like Victoria sponge and meringues. So please feel free to download a copy of that. So I'm just going to check halfway through on our clouty dumpling. So if you just check it halfway through, just to make sure that it's not overflowing. And we'll pop that back on. So we're halfway through with our clouty dumpling. So we also have a pen pal scheme that's free to register as well at our website, vegetarianforlife.org.uk. So perhaps you're looking to meet a new friend, make a connection, particularly during lockdown. It's a nice opportunity to meet some new people. We also have a grant scheme. So if you're yourself or you know somebody that is a older vegetarian or vegan that could benefit from some additional support, we fund things like computers, mobility scooters, kitchen equipment, microwaves, that kind of thing. So please feel free to signpost anybody to our grant scheme. So we'll check on our dumpling again. Well, it's looking good, so it's steaming away nicely. So it's risen up to the top of my bowl, so that's why it's really important to make sure that you only 3/4 fill your bowl, because you will get a bit of rise coming on your dumpling. So we also have our Facebook page, which is V for Life. You'll find lots of interesting videos and recipes on there. You'll also find links to our monthly blog posts, and this weekend the Roving Chef team are going to be live at Veg Fest, so there will be links to the videos and the cooking demonstrations that my colleagues are doing. You'll also find previous videos where we've got a whole range of things, ranging from vegan breakfast to vegan chocolate cake. I've done some curries and winter warmers, so there's a whole different range of videos there. So that is on our Facebook page, Bake for Life, so please feel free to check them out. So our dumpling is looking absolutely fantastic. So we've got just another 30 seconds for that. So we've got another 3 sessions for the Grow Together project. So have a little think about what you guys would like me to cook. If there's anything that you traditionally cook that you would perhaps like to see a vegetarian or vegan version of, maybe you've seen something on the television that you're not familiar with, that you think, oh, I would love to try that. Like perhaps you've heard of tofu but don't know what to do with it. Just have a little think about what you would like me to cook, and please feel free to make any suggestions. So let's have a look at our floaty dumpling. So this is steamed up nicely now, so it's nice and springy to the touch. So what we've found from eating this at home, it's best to leave it to completely cool down before you try to cut it. If you try to cut it when it's hot, it can become quite crumbly. So we tend to serve this the next again day. It's absolutely lovely with ice cream, some double cream, serve it with like some fruit on the side, completely up to yourself. So I'll just take a little spoonful out of this just so that you can see the texture. So you can see you've got that traditional skin that would normally form on a dumpling, but it's only taken us 7 minutes to cook this. So much quicker than traditional way that my granny used to do it by steaming it for 2.5 hours. So thank you so much for joining me today for our short virtual demonstration. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.
What is the wattage of your microwave?
Let me just double check that for you. Let me see if it says, oh, it doesn't actually say on it. It doesn't actually say. I think it's just a standard microwave. I know that most microwaves are normally about an 800, so it's nothing fancy. But if you weren't sure of your microwave, I would suggest cook it in 2-minute installments. Then you can just check it and make sure that it's cooked all the way through.
Right, thank you.